True story about Slash and his dope licks. They never get old. Hello, Suckamaniacs, and welcome to another installment of Weekend Wankshop here with your good pal, Uncle Ben. I've had a really busy week full of Skype lessons and band practice and beer and playing guitar and listening to some great guitar solos by a fella by the name of Slash that used to play for a little rock and roll band called Guns N' Roses. Maybe you've heard of them. Now, it goes without saying that Slash knows how to write one bitchin' guitar solo. Over my years of playing in cover bands and also teaching and stuff, I've learned a lot of his licks and a lot of his solos, and I've always found him to be one of those guys that knows exactly the right time to be at exactly the right spot on the board, you know? He's always nailing an important chord note as soon as that chord rolls around, you know? So if the chord changes, there he is, nailing the root of that chord, or maybe the third of it, or something like that. He's one of those guys that's super, super melodic with his playing, which is part of what makes his solos so memorable and so singable, you know? They're almost like vocal lines. But at the same time, he also knows how to throw down and play some pretty ripping licks like the one that we're going to explore today, which is a great thing to add to your arsenal of pentatonic ideas, as well as something you could sneak into some of your modal playing as well. This is based on a lick that's towards the end of the main Sweet Child of Mine solo, after he kicks on the wah pedal and stuff. It's a really, really cool lick, and again, like I said, a neat way to kind of sequence yourself through the pentatonic scale. It's got a really cool sound to it. You could use it in a lot of different contexts. So let's dig into that. But first things first, let's hear it at step slash speed. Now don't forget, kids, you can go to Uncle Ben's Instagram page and find a full tab for this week's lick. Search for me on there. My name is Ben Eller Guitars. Find the tab, learn how to play this lick, upload a video of yourself playing it, along with the hashtag Weekend Wankshop. That way I can scope it out. Always love seeing you guys play these hot licks. Okay, so this lick is based on the E minor pentatonic scale. A favorite among pretty much every guitar player that's ever lived. One of the most common scale positions that you'll ever use, so you might as well get pretty familiar and comfy with it. If you've never used that scale before, it's the notes E, G, A, B, D, E in a couple of octaves. And if you don't know the scale pattern, it goes like this. It's 2 notes on every string, and from the low E string, fret number wise, it's going to go like this. 12, 15, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 15, 12, 15. A pretty neat and tidy little box of notes. Get really good and familiar with that. There's a lot of cool shit that lives in that box, so check that out. This lick is based on a pretty simple kind of theme, you know? I like licks like this that sort of have a, I guess you could say, a formula or a pattern to them, you know? I always like hearing this kind of stuff. And the idea here is hit a note 2 times, then play the 2 notes below it in the scale. That's basically it. Lick starts on the 12th fret on the G string. So here's a perfect example of what I'm talking about with that pattern. Play that note 2 times, then play the 2 scale notes below it. So the 14th fret D, pulling off to the 12th fret D. Just like that. And then what we're going to do is move our starting note up by 1 note. So in other words, our first starting note is here. Our next starting note is going to be here on the 14th fret G. Pick it 2 times. Pull off to the next lowest scale note, 12th fret G. Play the 14th fret D. So again, we've had the same idea. Note 2 times, 2 notes below it. Next note, 2 times, the 2 notes below it. Next part is going to start off on the next scale note here, which is B, 12th fret B string. Pick that 2 times. 14th G, pulling off to 12th G. Next we're going to move up a scale note, play the 15th B 2 times. Pulling off to 12 on the B, 14th G. Next we move on to the high E string, your number 12. Pick it 2 times. 15th fret B, pulling off to 12th B. 15th fret high E 2 times. Pulling off to 12, 15th fret B, and then give it a whole step bend and some greasy vibrato. That's basically it. Again, it's one simple pattern like that, just moving through the scale pattern. I'll play it slow for you. It should sound like this. Starting at 12th G, 14 to 12 on the D. 14th G, pulling off the 12, 14 on the D. 12th B, 14th G, pulling off the 12. 15th B, pulling off the 12, 14 on the G. 12th E, 15th B, pulling off the 12. 15th high E, pulling off the 12. 15th fret B, whole step bend. Something like that. Cool thing with a pattern-based lick like this too is if you understand it pretty well and you know the scale pattern well enough, you could start this anywhere in there. Maybe extend this whole thing out to be a little bit longer if you wanted to. So if I started this on the 12th fret on the A string, I could play that all the way through the kind of box position, and then if you know the notes of the scale well enough, which I encourage you to do, you could keep moving this on up on like the top 2 strings, as long as you're playing those notes, E, G, A, B, D, E, and you could end up with a really sick lick, something like this. That's no kid stuff lick right there. That's a certified expensive lick. So there you go, kids. Another sick lick to add to the good old wank bank. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like this video and subscribe for more cool lessons and weekly licks and all kinds of good stuff. Also be sure to drop me an email, benellerguitars@gmail.com, and let's set up some one-on-one Skype lessons so we can get to learning you good about scales and modes and theory and the fretboard and all that other good stuff that you need in your life. Thank you guys again, and stay tuned next week for another hot lick. Cheers!